So, my wife is pretty awesome. She's letting me turn our garage into a full workshop instead of a parking garage for her nice new car. And like always, when I start a hobby, I don't exactly start small. I've been doing some woodworking before, but not professionally and not even particularly well. But over the past year, I've been collecting the tools I've felt I've needed. A miter saw, a table saw, and a planer are the main big tools I've needed or felt I've needed. And at this point, I've got most of the main pieces I need. Now we just need to build some furniture to make everything more efficient. First up is a miter saw station. There you could see me loading up some 2x4s into the truck. I spent a little over $100 on these. I also grabbed 6 sheets of plywood for around 240 bucks. And here's a tip. Instead of going to a big box store, I went to a local lumber yard. The same sheets that would have been around $90 each were about half the price there. And the quality was way better. More plies, fewer voids, and cleaner faces. All in for about a 13-foot bench and 3 feet deep. I'm in around $350, which I feel is not bad for something sturdy and simple. Next, I'm cutting my risers, the vertical pieces that give the bench its height. I needed 24 of these, each about 33 inches long. Make your bench whatever height works for you. Just remember to subtract the thickness of your tabletop. I'm about 6'1", so I went taller than most people would. And once you go for the lazy half lap joint, that will increase it as well as the tabletop. So I think my worktop bench ended up at about 36 inches tall. That is pretty tall for the average person. But again, adjust these to whatever you want. For the joints, I went with a lazy half lap. Take two 2x4s and offset them by the width of a 2x4, which is about 3.5 inches. Glue them together and clamp them. I added a temporary fence and stop block to my miter saw for consistent lengths, which is a lot easier than measuring each piece individually, which will help with making these uh, half lap kind of 4x4s. Once the glue dried, I started assembling the frame. I don't like working on the floor, so eventually I just clamped everything up and worked at a comfortable height. The design is insanely simple. Just screw the half lap joints to the top and bottom rails, making sure to offset where needed. When cutting depth pieces, remember the top and bottom lengths will differ slightly because of these offsets. For the tops, I cut my plywood using the factory edge of a separate piece as a straight guide. Since I don't have a track saw, I clamp that plywood and use my circular saw, just measuring back from the faceplate to get an accurate cut line. Eventually, you're going to see me climbing on the top of this because I kind of did it backwards from where you want to hold the miter saw, or sorry, the circular saw. But eventually, I just did some remeasuring and did it the other way. I glued and screwed 2 layers of 3/4 inch plywood for the bench surface with a slight overhang so I can eventually face it with another sheet for a cleaner look. If you plan on adding a T-track later, which I do as well, watch where you place your screws so your router won't hit them. And when clamping, start in the middle and work your way out for even pressure. Something that you're going to see me not do so well. You're about to see a bit of a time jump between now and the actual finished product. The bottom shelf is just another piece of plywood notched around the legs. Give yourself a little extra clearance. I had to take mine in and out a couple times before it fit right. Built the station in two parts, an 8-foot bench and a 5-foot bench, with the miner saw in the middle. To set the saw height, I just measured the thickness of its base, subtracted the thickness of my plywood tops, and the 2x4 braces, and just adjusted so the saw table sit flush with the bench surface. Again, because this design is so simple, you really can make these lengths of the tables however short or long you want. And that's really it. A super simple, sturdy miter saw station you can size however you need it. Next, I'll be building an outfeed table for my table saw. So if you'd like, stick around for that. Thank you for watching.